On February 25, 2023, voters in Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, will go to the polls to decide who will lead them as president for the next 4 years. While Nigeria is gearing up for the next election, which is literally just weeks away, many social media users and media organizations are creating and using opinion polls to project who might become the next president of the country. While opinion polls can be useful for feeling the pulse of the public on how candidates are doing and on the issues that matter most, these polls can also be used to directly or indirectly influence the decision of the electorate, most especially when a particular candidate is the one leading the polls. This episode of The Proof, powered by Africa Chek, will give you a guide to understanding opinion polls during the campaign season. So, stay with us and find out more. I am Hanson. Welcome back. Opinion polls collect information from a given group, a sample group, to get an idea of public sentiment. 18 candidates are seeking to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari, but several opinion surveys have identified 4 as the most likely to carry the day. The 4 are Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party PDP, the Labour Party or LP's Peter Gregory Obi, and Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso of the New Nigeria People's Party NNPP. Well, joining me now is Allwell Okpi, Community Manager for Africa Chek. Allwell, thank you so much for being here. Now, a number of polls have come out since Nigeria's campaign season started, right from last year. Have you noticed any patterns with the polls?
Well, thank you, Joe. Well, I mean, the campaign season actually started officially in September, and since then there have been quite a number of opinion polls conducted around the presidential elections, particular, beginning from September, we saw, polls from the US-based media organization Bloomberg, which found that about 72% of decided voters preferred the candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, and 16% for the APC candidate, Bola Tinubu, and then 9% for Atiku Abubakar of the PDP. That actually had about 3,967 respondents who answered the questions, which included how viable they thought Peter Obi's candidacy is, and then looking through how his sort of rise in the political space. Since then we've had quite a number of other polls. But majority of them have actually given the Labour Party candidate Peter Obi the edge.
So what are those questions journalists should ask about opinion polls? What should the public know as well about polling?
So for polling generally, you look at polling according to a handbook, which was originally by the U.S. National Council on Public Polls. There are 2 main types of polls. There is the scientific polls and there are the unscientific polls. Scientific polls, essentially those polls where the pollster identifies and seeks out the people to be interviewed, while the unscientific polls, people sort of volunteer to give their opinion, and generally, polls. So generally, the public, there is a need to ask certain questions, and these are the questions you really need to ask when you're looking at any poll whatsoever. One is you need to ask who conducted the poll, who commissioned it or paid for it. I mean, polls are not they are not conducted for the good of the world to the field to conduct polls, and so for what reason, and how, what questions were asked and how were the questions phrased, because that determines the outcome to a great extent, and how were the poll participants chosen, how was the data collected, and then also can ask what margin of error. And then when was the survey conducted? Because you can conduct a survey today, and by tomorrow things are different, especially when you're talking about politics. Things can change even within a day.
All right, what are the requirements for designing a poll?
Generally, polls are, supposed to be representative of the population that you're looking at. We did speak. We spoke to some experts. Are into research and polls. For instance, Ikemesit Effiong, who heads the research at the SBM Intelligence. Those are other things to look at is the distribution of the population, urban, rural distribution, and looking through the population, looking at the proportion of different demographics within the population to ensure that the poll participants actually mirror the population distribution, and also importantly, if a poll is to assess the potential voting attitudes, then the respondents are not who are not likely to vote should not be included in that as participants in that poll.
When it comes to conducting a reliable survey and one that reflects voter sentiment, is there a magic number?
Yeah, when I mean, there's the general expectation is that polls should be reliable. And then the of selecting participants that properly represent the target population. Is sometimes there's a issue at that level. Then when you look at conducting a polls, you find out that some of the polls that we about earlier, did, for instance, one reached out to 1,000 phone-owning Nigerians and spoke to them on the phone about their choices or their preference in the presidential election, and that sort of was the sample size that they used for nation. It varies in some cases. Statisticians might tell you that might be sufficient, provided that the respondents were drawn from every part of the country, and that they actually meet all criteria that are required for them to meet to actually mirror the actual voting population in this case.
Thank you so much, Allwell, for speaking with us here on The Proof. When we come back, we'll bring to you our verdict. Welcome back. Before you believe the results of an opinion poll, remember that it's just a response from a certain group of people that actually doesn't define the final outcome of the elections, okay? So conducting opinion polls might just be another propaganda tool to endorse a certain candidate. Don't let your voting decisions be influenced by an opinion poll you come across online. And that's exactly what we've learned in this conversation with Okpi. So ask questions of who, why, when, how, and more about the poll, all right? If you're still not sure about a claim or an opinion poll you see on social media, or you need to know more about fact-checking, reach out to Africa Chek. They are www.africachek.org or tweet at africachek_NG. Now, don't forget to also follow us. We are at News Central TV on all socials And you can check our website. It's www.newscentral.africa. Until I see you again next time, I'm Joe Hanson.